It's recording.
Call meeting to order. It's 4 p.m. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome everybody. 1.2, the agenda, is there any adjustments to the agenda?
I have none.
Changes or rearrangements? None? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as posted.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Bianca,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Rosemary,
Aye.
and I also approve. Agendas adopted as posted. Consent agenda. 2.1, consideration of approval of warrants and payroll for Northern United Humboldt Charter School. 2.2, consideration of approval of warrants, batches 0618, 0828, 0802, 0816, and payroll for Northern United Siskiyou Charter School. 2.3, consideration of approval of minutes from the August 12th board meeting. 2.4, consideration of resignations, hires, leaves, and change of assignments. Are there any corrections or questions about items in the consent agenda?
I have
Rosemary.
a question on the 2.4 or on the master list.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that Tommy Ray had resigned and her name appears there.
She had resigned and she rescinded that.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know that.
Oh, gosh, okay. Of course, I got inside.
And I just wanted to say one thing too about the batches. I emailed those, Bianca, actually Lacey did, I think, to Kirk and Bianca and Melissa, so that you could sign those cover sheets as well as the minutes, Bianca. I think Kirk probably got those too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as posted.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Bianca,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Rosemary,
Aye.
I also approve consent agenda approved. Consent agenda approved. Item 3, the public comments on items not on the agenda. Under this item, the public is invited to address the board regarding items that are not on today's agenda. Please keep your comments concise, brief, and limited to 3 minutes. The board is not allowed under the law to take action on matters that are not on the agenda. Should comments from the public pertain to a charge or complaint against an employee of Northern United Humboldt Charter School or Northern United Siskiyou Charter School, the board encourages the speaker to utilize the charter's written complaint procedures to pursue the matter. The public will have an opportunity to comment on all agenda items as those items are heard this evening. Are there any comments?
Well, I just wanted to take the opportunity to introduce Janice Lorenzo. Hi, Janice. She's a guest tonight, and Janice is our new charter school liaison with Humboldt County Office of Education.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for allowing me here tonight.
Welcome, Janice.
Yes, welcome, Janice.
Thank you.
I hope we live up to the county office's expectations for board meetings.
You guys are doing a fabulous job. I enjoyed last time too. I only got to be at about half of your meeting, maybe 3/4, and very smooth.
All right. Item 4, action items to be considered. 4.1, approval of the amended local control and accountability plan for Northern United Humboldt Charter School. Sherry.
Well, this is another hat that Janice wears, actually. So you guys know the process with the local control accountability plan. That actually was board adopted at our June 18th meeting. We had a public hearing on June 17th and then adoption on the 18th. And you know, the LCAP and the budget are in alignment. Well, the process is, once the board adopts it, then the county office does their review of both documents, the budget and the LCAP. And in the review of ours, they found a couple things between the budget and the documents, whether it be the LCAP or the annual update, or the expenditure table. They found a couple inconsistencies where the budget and the LCAP did not align. And so they give us this compliance review sheet where they spell out the specific areas in which they're seeing a discrepancy. And so really Tammy was the one that went through each of the items to get the budget in alignment with the LCAP or vice versa. And so what you have in your packet is now that document with those changes, those necessary changes. So since there were some changes, then it needs to be adopted again. No public hearing was needed again, just the adoption again. And then on the Siskiyou side, the letter that Lacey emailed you today, I think was just correspondence. When they did their review, both items were in alignment. So they've already approved that. That's what that letter was, Lacey emailed you today. Any questions?
Any questions or comments? I'm just curious to know how, what the process is of identifying the discrepancies. Is it somebody goes line by line,
Yes.
or is it?
Somebody named Janice.
Okay,
And
is it a
also
computer program,
Yes.
or?
Yeah, the
Okay.
fiscal office at HCU
Okay.
looks through it, and then
Okay.
Janice is the programmatic side.
Okay.
And so that's exactly what happened. They go through kind of item by item. And the good thing is, in the budget, within like the software of the budget, Tammy's able to put like the action, the goal and action number that it aligns to in the budget, so that you can, kind of crosswalk and see that it's all there.
Yeah, and the only reason I ask, because this is such a massive
Yes.
document, so many numbers and computations and stuff. For somebody with experience in handling these, usually has a sense of some areas that are lower.
Well, and think about how the fact that the county office does this review for all of the districts and then the charters that they offer.
Yes.
So that's a lot, 32 districts or whatever it is, plus the 3 charters or whatever that they offer. So that's a lot of reviewing of LCAPs and budgets.
And she's still smiling
I
and her
know.
eyes aren't even crossed.
Yes. Well, we definitely appreciate it. And
Yours was really, it was very minor. Our things were very minor, so it looked great.
okay. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the amended LCAP plan for NU Humboldt.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
Melissa.
Yeah, I think so.
It's okay, my pen just ran out.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Bianca,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Rosemary,
Aye.
I also approve, motion carries. 4.2, approval of the 2020-2021 unaudited actuals for Northern United Humboldt Charter School. Jerry?
Okay, well, you guys know that this is something you see every year at this time. Essentially, what it is our budget, the actual expenditures from last year. So that's why it's 2021. So now that the fiscal year has ended, and the county office and Tammy have had the opportunity to like close out the books, this is kind of almost the final look at our budget last year. The reason I say almost final is because this is unaudited. Once our auditor comes, which is actually later this month and in October, he'll review it too. And then anything that he finds, that will be the final version. But this is prior to the audit being done. So these are the actual expenditures and actual revenues from last fiscal year. As of now. Yeah, what we think before the auditor reviews.
Yeah.
And so this requires board approval and a certification.
All right. Are there any questions or comments for Sherry or Tammy? No? None? Okay. Is there a motion? Thank you, Sherry. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2020-2021 unaudited actuals for NUHCS.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Bianca?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Rosemary?
Aye.
I also approve. Motion carried.
And I'll just say, you'll see the Siskiyou one next month.
We've already been in contact with them. They said they didn't.
Okay, good. 4.3. Approval of the 2021-2022 annual goals. As you recall, we had some discussion about this last month. And I don't know if anyone submitted ideas or suggestions to carry or not.
None other than the discussion we had at the last meeting. And so, what I did is I just took our LCAP goals on the Humboldt side and the Siskiyou side, and then added the feedback from our prior discussion. I hope I captured that correctly. And then I did what I recommended, which was based on kind of a combination of the LCAP goals with the feedback. So what I did is I took number one for both Humboldt and Siskiyou charters are essentially the same. They're like the academic performance one. So I left that as it was. The second one, though, is kind of a combination of Humboldt's goal number 2 and Siskiyou's 2 and 3, but I added with emphasis on the social and emotional well-being of students, just to make sure that it really captured that piece. I believe that was Bianca's suggestion.
Yeah.
And even though, and it's interesting, Bianca, that you said that, this is why it's so good to get stakeholder feedback, because I had kind of thought that those goals, goal number 2 in Humboldt and goal 3 in Siskiyou, I kind of thought that it seemed like that is what those goals are, I know that that's the intent behind those goals, but it may not read that way. It may not be as obvious to everybody that that's what those goals are about. So I really wanted to emphasize that. And so that's why I added that with emphasis on the social emotional well-being of the students. And then the third one was a goal that I just created based on what I think Melissa talked about, which was, and also we had in our WASC review the last time, emphasizing the promotion of our school programs and opportunities. not only with our own students and parents so that they know of all of the options and the opportunities that are available to them, but also in the broader community, because we've all talked about how many times I've met somebody that has never heard of our school. And so the idea of focusing on that as a goal this year, that's what that number 3 is. So essentially, I just took what we have as our LCAP goals and then that feedback and kind of combined it into these 3 goals. And that's my recommendation, but again, I'm just putting it out there kind of as a starter for us. If you guys have any other thoughts or ideas, this is the time.
Are there any questions or comments for Sherry pertaining to the annual goals?
For me, she captured what Melissa and Bianca were conveying in my mind. Now, maybe not to them, but in my mind, what they were conveying.
Yeah.
I
That's
feel
what,
that
what I walked away with.
That you captured.
Yeah, Melissa had her hand up.
Melissa?
Wanted to say that I think that it's much more understandable now that it's all in a single set of goals for both sides of the school. And I think that I like the way it's all written too. So.
Bianca? Any?
Yeah, I think that the specificity of it is going to go over well with the community, meaning the school community and the parents, because definitely the idea of the emotional and social well-being is what I'm hearing going on throughout the Siskiyou community and what parents are really focused on for their students, for their children. So I think you did capture it, and I appreciate you combining those, Sherry, and putting that language in there.
Okay, good. I just want to point out what may be the obvious, is that the annual goals are huge. They play a very large role in everything. It's what drives the emphasis of the school, drives things that Sherry does, and the board's evaluation of our director is based upon, to a degree, these annual goals. So this goes without saying that these goals are really important. And for me personally, and reviewing the different goals for each of the counties, and then seeing the recommended goals sifted, digested into these 3 that appear in our packet. It's like Sherry did a really good job.
Oh, good, thank you. Thank you, Jerry. I'm glad. I walked away from a discussion, and this is what I think I heard everybody say, but until I get it back to you, I don't know for sure, so I'm glad I captured it. And Jerry, just to kind of add on what you said, not only is it what you guys use as the basis for my evaluation, but then these goals are what I use for my evaluation of the administrators that I work with as well.
Sure, I mean, so it's just all encompassing, and that you live and breathe this, and so you're really good at taking comments and putting it together with an intended outcome that we generally always agree on. So far, you have not yet missed the mark. So
My time will come.
yeah, we're only human, so that's the way it goes. Okay, any further comments or questions? If not, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2021, 2022 annual goals.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Bianca,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Rosemary.
Aye.
I also approve, motion carries. 4.4, review and approval of the conflict of interest code. I'd like to point out, just for clarification, because when we have been seeing this, and this isn't the first time we've seen it. And what always immediately comes to my mind is, this is different than the conflict of interest in our bylaws. Isn't it?
I'm not even sure if there's any conflict of interest stated in the bylaws. Maybe there is.
Oh, there it is.
Okay.
That was one of the first things we had to wrestle with. You know, when we came together and.
I don't remember what it was.
Okay.
Was it pertaining to the employees being, yeah, that's in this one.
Well, it overlaps with it, but it's not the same as the bylaws. Anyway. I'll let you go ahead and talk about the conflict of interest.
So this is something that we're required to review and approve every year. There have been no changes to it. This is exactly the one that was reviewed and approved last year. But this is a compliance action item in that, and this is our opportunity to review it if we wanted to make any changes, but reviewing it and approving it every year is required. And just to clarify what a conflict of interest code is, you guys, when you have done your Brown Act training, often there's the conflict of interest code training that goes with it. And it talks, and also you guys fill out that form 700, and that's what this is pertaining to. So we wouldn't be allowed to, like the school couldn't enter into a business with you, or if you guys had a business, we couldn't, contract with you. And not just you, but all the officers of the nonprofit as well. So it's those kinds of conflict of interest, like financial and otherwise. You're not going to get any benefit financially from something that the school does that would be a conflict of interest.
Any questions or comments?
Pretty straightforward.
It is pretty straightforward. And so, when will we be getting this school year's form?
That goes on a calendar year. So it's like January to December.
All right. If there's no further questions or comments, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the conflict of interest.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Bianca,
Aye.
Melissa.
Aye.
Rosemary.
Aye.
I also approve. Motion carries. 5, discussion items. 5.1, revise and update employee employment policies. First reading.
Okay, so this is on here as a discussion item because it's just the first reading. This is obviously a long document. You guys remember that what we have done is because it has been 3 years since our policies as a whole were reviewed by our attorneys, we decided to undertake that project this past summer. So they have reviewed our policies, and these are the first set that are done, and these are all the policies pertaining to our employees. So these are all the employment policies. You may remember that before, all of our policies were all together, kind of like in one handbook. Anything pertaining to employees, anything pertaining to students, everything was together. So they recommended now, we have so many policies now, they recommended splitting those up. So that's why you're seeing all of these in one kind of lump sum. These are all the employment policies. And so it is just one handbook. And so after we adopt these, then you'll get the ones that are the student policies. And after adopting those, then we'll give you the ones that are the, I think we're just calling them board policies or administrative policies. They don't really fall into either of those categories. Like, for example, we have a policy that pertains to how we accept bids on things. Well, that's not really an employee or a student policy. That's just kind of an administrative or, board policy. So we're going to have 3 separate policy handbooks now. And this one is the employment one. So because this is just a first reading, this is now where it's on you guys to look through this and go through each of these policies. Some of them are completely unchanged as to what we had before. And then things that are changed are things that maybe new laws that have passed since they were originally adopted or whatever. So that was changed. But to go through them, and some of them could be brand new policies too. If they found any that they recommended that we should have that we didn't, those were included in here as well. So if you go through and see what you think and let me know, and then any changes, any edits, any thoughts, we can, you can let me know ahead of time, and then also we can discuss it at the next meeting. But I'll put it on as a second reading for action, to adopt next board meeting. So any questions?
So you can send these to you.
Oh, you already did it, Rosemary?
Oh, yes, I did.
Yes, well, you can just hand me that if you have it all printed out.
You
with
know
notes.
what? But there's no explanation.
Okay.
I know what I've done.
I know. Well, do you want to, we can even meet one day, or, we can go through right now if you wanted to.
It doesn't matter, whatever the group wants to do, I could come in and meet with you. We could do it now. Melissa doesn't feel well, so I'm sure she's a no. But, we'll get together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions or comments of Bianca, Melissa?
Do you know offhand, Sherry, any pieces that were added that were not previously there?
You mean like a whole policy?
Totally. Yeah, or anything material.
Nothing really material. Linda, can you think of anything off the top of your head? I'm scrolling through to look and see. They're really, nothing huge. There were a lot of things like having to include new protected classes, for example, like maybe adding transgender because that was something that was newer in the law that wasn't in there when the policy was first written. It was a lot of things like that.
Yeah.
So I think there were some things like in the vacations, holiday and leaves policy that, like, for example, Juneteenth was added as a vacation day, so things like that, but nothing else is jumping out at me as I'm scrolling
The
through.
pay schedule, didn't we do the corrections on that?
maybe, there might have been some updating in the pay schedule because, we adopted, a new pay schedule and added a position of like behavior support assistant. And so that wasn't reflected in the policy. I don't know, I think that may be about it that I can think of off the top of my head. I mean, there's probably tons more, but nothing really material.
Okay,
Yeah, we just changed everywhere where it said superintendent to director.
Yeah,
And
that was
stuff.
mostly already done.
That
There was only like a
mostly,
cover,
but yeah. So we just went through and cleaned it up that way.
Yeah, and maybe in the mandated training policy, we might have added new mandated trainings that weren't there before,
Mhm.
like the COVID ones. I don't know. But if you compared it side by side with the previous handbook,
right.
you could see, any of the specific changes, but those were the kinds of things. I mean, a lot of them were things like, we're adding this because this new law was passed or whatever. And so it was additional, like I said, protected classes or words or, things related to that. And I don't know if in this section, like immigration compliance, I think that was a whole new policy. I don't think that's one we had before.
Oh, I think you're right.
Yeah, so,
Title to where we just have to click and read. We didn't have those before. In the mandated trainings.
Oh, yeah, our policies.
oh, yeah.
That was like.
We're past that.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's all I had. Nothing jumped out at me. Rosemary, if there's anything that you think should be discussed, I'd like to hear that.
You want to hear it now?
Only if you think it needs to be discussed, not necessarily all of your
Oh,
grammatical
you know
findings.
what?
There's nothing, you don't want to hear about periods and commas.
Nope.
Well, I do have just a couple because she requested it. On the paraprofessional policy, page 16, do we need that line that says paraprofessionals hired on or before June 8, 2002? Blah, 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 blah.
We must, because I didn't put that in there, the lawyers did, and you see they put this section there.
Yes.
So I'm thinking that is a required component.
Okay.
Well, that's really strange because we're not even an entity in 2000.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then, let me see here, on E45, the first line says all Northern United Humboldt Charter School teachers.
Oh, good catch.
And every other place, it has NUCS.
Okay, that's definitely a change we want to make.
Yeah.
That's a huge one.
Good eye.
And that's on E45.
E45,
Okay.
the very first
Okay. thank
first
you.
line.
Thank
And
you.
the others I will just talk with Sherry about.
None of the others require discussion, it's all just for now. Okay,
No,
perfect.
no.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome.
Well, my comment would complement what Bianca was inquiring about, is that, of course, Sherry said, if we compared this one with the previous one, and then see, but as far as information to the board, it might be nice to have a heads up as to what is different. That it might be more efficient, only if you guys are aware of any new policies, new things that have been added that we don't necessarily do
Right.
until we read through the whole document. Let's say a cheat sheet, so to speak, that might be nice to have. So now it's been brought to all of our attention, and so potentially there's 5 or eyes looking at it to see if something doesn't read right or catch, as Rosemary did,
Yeah, definitely, catching the editing things, but really, I mean, I want you guys to review them to see, like, is this the direction, you know, that you would want us to be going in? These are the policies that, you know, that you would be adopting, that then we would be following. You know, are there things in there that just, you know, you don't think are the right direction for us? You know, that's the real, I mean, that's really at the heart of what the board does, is, you know, set these policies that then the staff carries out. So making sure, you know, you guys looking at the policies to make sure that, you know, that it is just going in the right direction, that is what you know, what you want us to be doing.
all right,
And you know that now that they've been reviewed by legal, so what's in there is legally compliant. But that doesn't change like the content. I mean, the substance of, because most of, you know, even like the lawyers, they don't know what our processes are. They just are making sure that the legally compliant words are in it.
Right.
So you guys looking through to make sure that these are the processes or procedures that we want to follow.
and that's a
really
good,
what we're looking for.
and that's a good point that Sherry makes, and we've run into this before. I know personally, I picked up on something that read rather awkwardly, or at least to me, but it's what how the policy was written, or I can't recall exactly, you know, what it was, but it was something that was already done by another entity. And we couldn't change it. You know, we have found things like that before, so, but that's a good point to remember, that these are legally compliant. And beyond that, as Jerry's pointing out, you know, the process or, you know, direction that do we want to embrace this? That's a whole different story.
Right.
So, okay, any other comments or questions? And again, it's just the first reading. Okay. All right. Item 6, reports, enrollment and attendance.
So that's in your packet, the report, and you know, there's no attendance really to report at this point, because as you guys know, we do our attendance for every 20-day period. So the first attendance period has not concluded yet, so there's no attendance there to report on that. Enrollment as of the time the packet came out, Humboldt was 337 and Siskiyou was 114.
Compared to last year?
Compared to last year is about 50 or so less for both schools than last year. You may remember last year was a lot higher than normal. Last year we started out really high and then kind of dropped back down to probably what would be more normal. But even comparing it to the year before and the year before that, we're definitely lower than we were those years too. I think we're more like maybe 30 lower, so.
Okay. Thank you. 6.2, the financial report.
This is just our monthly financials for the month of August.
Bianca and Melissa, can you hear Tammy?
This is our monthly financials for the month of August. This will be Siskiyou side and Humboldt. It's payroll and all APs. Any questions?
None. Okay, thank you, Kenny. 6.3, the director's report, the WASP update. And WASP.
Yeah.
Or-
Yeah.
Sherry,
Okay.
you got always lots to say.
Okay, so I just thought I'd give a little update on our COVID-19 testing, how we're doing with that. Staff have been submitting their proof of vaccination status, and so we've got a comprehensive list now of who is and isn't vaccinated. And as you guys know, those who are not vaccinated are required to be tested weekly. So we have our list now of who is required to be tested weekly. And then in both the Humboldt and Siskiyou side, we have received the tests, and staff, everyone who has volunteered to be a person to administer the test or like oversee the test, have begun training. There's basically 3 components to the training. One is within what's called primary.health, which is the kind of online platform that the test results get emailed to and linked to a person. Everybody who's getting tested creates an account in this system, and then the test is linked to them with like a scanner barcode, and then the results are recorded for that person and then emailed to public health, and we can see the results as well. So there's training within that system. And then there's also a HIPAA compliance and a FERPA compliance training that has to be done. And then finally, there's a hands-on training that happens with CDPH. And for that, you actually use tests, you actually, test. And so that's why we have the test now for that piece. And that's about at the step we're at. Like everyone who's doing it has done the online parts and we're ready for the hands-on piece. And that I haven't done yet. I don't know if Janice, if you've done that or not, but my understanding is when you do that hands-on piece, you're on with CDPH so that they can watch you, like they watch you through the camera doing the test. But so as soon as everybody's done with all the online pieces, then we're going to be doing that hands-on training, and we're getting close. You guys remember we have to be in compliance with this, like up and running by October 15th, and we're just about there. In the meantime, I've now gotten on the ordering of tests, like that's done on the Humboldt side. It's done on a weekly basis. HCOE is facilitating that for everybody locally. They send out a Google form, and by Friday at noon, you have to have submitted how many tests you're going to need for that week. And so we've done that 2 weeks in a row now. And so we've gotten the tests out to Willow Creek and to Bryceland so that they can do their hands-on training. Today, actually Tammy picked them up yesterday for the rest of us on this side to be able to do our hands-on training. So we're just about ready. I think by next week, everybody will be completely trained, and then we'll be able to get the weekly testing going. And that's both a rapid antigen test and then the PCR test. So, and then if anybody does a PCR test, we drop that off on the Humboldt side at HCOE, and they have a courier that brings it to the lab. On the Siskiyou side, we bring it to public health. They have a courier that brings it to the lab. So that's where we are with the testing. I wanted to let you know that Northern United Humboldt Charter School was selected. Let me see if I can get to it. I don't know if I'll be able to get to it right now. Was selected to participate in the NAEP, which is a national assessment. If you receive Title I funding, you're required to participate in this assessment if you are selected. I don't remember how many, it's like 400 or something schools in the state are selected to do it, but it's a national test, so schools all over the country are selected to do it. We were selected for our 4th graders to be assessed in English language arts and mathematics. It's going to happen at some time between January and March. And people from the like the federal government's education board, you know, what is that? It's not CDE, that's the California one. What's the federal one? Department of Education. Department of Education, they come out and administer the test themselves. And it's anonymous, so the results, you know, nobody gets the results in terms of like, we don't know how our kids did or whatever. They're lumped in with everybody else in the nation who takes the exam, and it's released in the national report card. And so anyway, that will happen, like I said, in the spring on the Humboldt side. They're not going to test all of our fourth graders. They will probably select a center with the most fourth graders. So we'll see who they actually end up picking. Let's see, WASC. So both of the schools' WASC visits are going to be virtual. That has been decided for sure. At the fall summit, we spent a lot of time on WASC gathering input from staff, gathering data from staff. And so that is well on its way, well underway. Let's see, the super students will be starting next month. I think Arcata Learning Centers picking a student for the first one that will be out in October. Advertising that we're doing right now is I don't know if you've heard them, but we have radio ads on K-Slug. There's a banner at Guna and I. It's in the North Coast Journal, and there is a Facebook ad as well. That's the advertising that's happening right
And
now.
my front lawn.
And your front lawn.
And my front
I've seen
lawn.
a lot of signs. In fact, today I saw a sign someplace. I don't know whose house it is, but I see signs around town for sure. Okay, the next thing I wanted to talk about, and sorry, Rosemary, you already heard all of this, but it's facilities. So just to update you, you guys know that the Eureka Learning Center facility that right before school started, we were notified that we weren't going to be able to utilize it. And so those students and staff members have been here at the Cutton Resource Center, kind of spread out. You know, the students for the live classes, it's been happening in this room we're in right now, the classroom, but teachers have also been Zooming with students in the break room on my side, in the conference room and special ed wing, kind of just anywhere that it could happen. We had to postpone our building trades class and our hydroponics class, but those are getting started next week or the week after. Julie, you can let me know if I'm wrong about that, but I think those are getting close to being started. But it's like we had to just kind of regroup and pivot. So we just postponed those for a minute, but they're getting ready now. You know, the more we thought about this whole situation, the more we realized that this could potentially be an ongoing problem all year. The fact that COVID is so bad right now that the tribe is closing the facilities in August and September, I don't really anticipate it being a whole lot better in December. Once, you know, cold and flu season is really underway, I'm just not sure that even if we get back in, I think it could close again. This could be an ongoing, and it's really untenable for the staff and the students. And I have to tell you, we've lost several students because of this. So we are looking at other options. You guys remember that Myers and at the corner of Myers and Alpha facility that we've looked at twice now. First we looked at it, they were just leasing it. The second time we looked at it, they're wanting to sell it. It used to be an adult daycare. We've reached out to them to see if they would be willing to, even though they have it for sale now, would they be willing to lease it? They were hesitant to lease it for a short term. But they ultimately did agree that they would be willing to do a 1-year lease. First, they said a 3-year, wait, a 5-year or a 20-year. And we said, no. And so they said, okay, well, we would be willing to do a 1-year, a 3-year, or a 5-year. And if you choose a 1 year, this is what the rent would be. If you choose 3 years, it'd be a little less, 5 years, a little less. But regardless, even the 5-year lease is $1,000 more than what we currently pay at Worthington. So it's definitely going to be more expensive. But I don't see that we have a lot of options for places for this program. And this is a really good program that we want to keep. And I'm afraid that if we keep this kind of piecemealed approach that we're doing right now, it's going to be hard to retain students in it. I called Janice today to talk to her about this situation, because if in fact we are able to find another location, whether it be this one at Myers and Alpha or another one, obviously HCOE has to approve it, because it's in our charter petition, it's like our locations. And so that would be something that we would want to be working with them from the beginning on. So that's why I called Janice today to give her a heads up about this. The other piece is, if we are able to find another facility, the whole like zoning and occupancy status of it with the planning department. So the one at Myers and Alpha, I got confirmation today that it's zoned commercial. I don't yet know what occupancy group it is. You guys might remember, like B occupancy is for general, E occupancy is for education, and there's different requirements for each of them. You remember our facilities in Willow Creek, like we added sprinklers, a sprinkler system, because that was required for E occupancy to get our E occupancy status there. So all of our facilities, those are either they have been in progress or we have achieved those. But this going to a new facility, you have to start that process over. And that process is very timely. I think in best case scenarios, it's 6 months. But when I looked into it last year, they said this is a best case scenario because of COVID. Although now their offices may be back open, but last year they weren't. And so like the planning department, like the planning commission and all of that, they were doing all their meetings by Zoom. I don't know if they are now, but anyway, it could take as much as a year, and it is also very costly to do this. But anyway, I'm hoping that we would be able to, if we find a facility, be able to move into it without concluding the process of getting the e-occupancy. And basically it's taking a risk, because it would be signing a lease on a facility that maybe we wouldn't get approved for e-occupancy. And which would mean we would have to pay on this lease and find another facility and kind of start all over. But I'm afraid if we don't do that, the process is going to take so long that by the time we get to that point, we're not going to have any students left in this program. So that's, I don't know what else to do other than to go forward with, finding a facility and signing a lease on something without knowing for sure it can be approved.
Right. I have a question and a thought.
Okay.
You and Julie, maybe Rebecca, visited that church on Henderson Street that had the classrooms and whatnot, but was not ideal for us. Would that be something to look at as far as a month to month?
Are you talking about the one that like went for sale and then somebody, a doctor, a dentist, I think bought it and the foundation was messed up? That one?
That's on Harris Street.
That's on Harris.
Right. This one didn't have parking or a play area or something, but it did have all the several classrooms.
Christie's Hall.
No.
Are you talking about Faith Center? Faith Center?
It's Faith Center.
That one's off of Myrtle.
No,
Yeah, not that one.
this
That
is
was
on
on
Henderson.
The one,
Church?
the one that like the homeless guy
That's-
lived in?
And that, the Scientology church.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's, yeah.
Foundation.
That one was on
No,
Harris
No,
Street.
not that one.
Not
Yeah,
that, okay,
no.
we
The
require-
one that's like that, it's a beautiful building, that one that's like really neat architecture.
Not
And it's
really,
for
this is
sale?
like a stucco, and you can tell that it has classrooms. That is on one corner, and then the church
I
is,
know what
the
you're
actual
talking about.
church is on the other corner.
Yeah, did we actually ever go look at that one? It had like, it has a fenced in area and a little courtyard, that one. Do you know what I'm talking about, Rebecca? Do you know what road
No,
it is?
I don't remember that.
Uh-uh.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Maybe it wasn't a visit, maybe it was just a drive-by?
Yeah, I think we drove by it. Do you guys remember there was one that we drove by and it had, but I can't remember what the issue was. We called them and we couldn't go.
I don't think
see
there
it,
was
or-
parking, I think you came back, there wasn't parking.
Remind me of where it was again. Sorry.
Henderson.
Or was it again?
It's on Henderson, and I wanna say maybe between J and K.
I don't think we ever went and saw that for some reason. I thought we talked about it and somebody went by it or something.
There were some issues with it. And I don't remember exactly what, other than it was not a good fit at the time for all of us, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah.
But maybe where there were the classrooms and what, maybe they'd be open to a month to month
Yeah.
to reevaluate in June and keep looking,
Yeah.
because it was not ideal.
Right. Well, that's the other thing too, is like, I think it wasn't ideal, or really none of the places have been ideal for
Uh-huh.
all of us. And none of the places have been ideal for all of us to buy,
Right.
but leasing for a short-term situation, some of the ones that we have ruled out before might be willing to, you
And then
know.
there was the one that was a CR extension.
Oh, yes.
Office in
Yeah,
Old Town.
yep, where, I think Assemblyman Wood's office is.
Actually, I think that the one on Myers, in our opinion, so far has been the most user-friendly. Because in some ways, because it was an adult healthcare, and there are several rooms in it. And I mean several, and a big kitchen, and it really, I mean, it's not beautiful, but it definitely has a lot of potential.
Can we schedule a visit? I mean, I hear all these things talked about. And I've only participated in 2 visits, both of which didn't work out. Of course, I'm still envisioning someday to have a facility that houses all of us,
Yes,
including records and petroleum.
I think that's the ultimate goal.
Yep.
Sure, and I'm willing to do something in the short term, but you know, I have to weigh all the considerations. I mean, even across the street is not. I mean, we're just. I think about this all the time. We're darn lucky we don't have some ADA compliance issue, because we're dead in the water. We're, you know that, it's just like, we're just hoping nothing happens, and so that's, that makes me, really uncomfortable, and that's for a long time. It's just like, just waiting for something to happen, and then we have no choice, and then what do we do? So, and for the longest time, until it got incorporated, and then now it's, we have to, but, I always wanted to know, about, facility update, and I realize things come and go, and things don't come up, and then something comes up and we can't compete with the cannabis industry, because of what they're willing to, monetarily shell out, and so it's just like, what do we do? So,
Well, I have to tell you, that's one of the biggest frustrations with this whole thing that happened with the Worthington campus is, and Julie and I had a lot of conversations about this, is it's like when you're a non-classroom based charter, there is zero money for facilities.
Yeah.
If you're a site-based charter, you can apply for what's called SB 740, which is a grant that gives, that you can get money for facilities. That is not an option for non-classroom based. So there is nothing for non-classroom based charters other than taking out a loan or whatever, which is fine. But it really makes it so that our students are like second-class citizens because we are beholden to whoever it is we're leasing from.
Yep.
And we have, because we cover the county, we have facilities all over the county. We pay so much in leases, several $100,000 a year in leases. We have utility bills at each of those. We have phone bills at each of those. We have security at each of those where, if we had a facility that we owned, at least that money would be going toward paying it off and not just into the landlord's pockets. But we are so stuck with facilities. And then and so it's the idea that like, here are students all prepared to go to school on the first day of school. And at the very last minute, it's ripped out from under them by something that's like totally out of our control. And it's just sad. It's sad that our students and our families, that's what, because of the choice that they make for their education, they don't get the same level of facility as another school would. And it just really drives that home. And it's been it makes me angry, that we're just not treated in the same way at all. And, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but, and then add on top of that, the fact that in Humboldt County, there is just so little to be had in terms of facilities. If we have said this so many times, if we needed a facility in McKinleyville, no problem. I mean, we've got the old Kmart, which is now U-Haul. We've got the old Ray's. There's so many big one-story places there. There is nothing in Eureka. There's just nothing. And we've been looking now for I don't know how many years. And it just, there's just nothing.
Well, one bright note is as opposed to when we first incorporated, we've been existing long enough that we have credit.
Yeah.
And we, and I was reminded by looking at the packet information, it's like, if you remember, in the beginning, we had nothing to compare it to, no last year, no previous years, and as a basis.
Yeah.
And so now we have those.
Yeah.
But that still doesn't help out, and it's just, it's extraordinarily frustrating.
Well, so would you guys like to go look at that Myers and Alpha facility? Do you want us to set that up, a visit?
Sure.
I'll send an email out, and those who can. I guess it's probably just gonna be you two.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm so disappointed.
Yeah,
I'm not disappointed.
You
I'm thinking
too.
there's not gonna be other people that are going, so I could just ask you now.
I mean, and in all fairness, I'm going to be looking at it as a former site administrator, with students of various grades and needs and all the things that come along with that. And so, that's why I want to be included in this. I'm only one of 5 who vote to approve such a thing, but that's why I'm here. It's because of that background. So it's just.
Jerry, can I say something?
Just wanted to
Yeah, go ahead, Julie.
So,
So, I think that what Sherry said is really true, given the fact that we found out that we are on tribal land because the tribe is not allowed to own property and it goes into a federal trust. We are beholden to all tribal laws, and we have had a 10-year relationship with this particular, group. I think this is our 9th or 10th year on the campus. And it's been a wonderful, situation. We are on a school campus, even though our modules are not beautiful, we are on a school campus and we've been able to have the ADA compliance and all of that. But as Sherry said, having the rug pulled out from underneath us and there being no conversation, mind you, they went into closure on August the 5th. We were not notified of this, that it impacted us until the Wednesday before school started, which would have been, I don't know what date that would have been, but right before the 30th. And so we all have had to turn on a dime and create a program that, the best we can. And as Sherry said, what is very concerning to me is that we've had a very viable program for a long time, and we are losing kids. And I, in fact, today lost a student that is, a great student. And I lost a student that I had since he was in 7th grade on that campus, and they left us. He is going into high school. And so, this is happening like every day. We're losing, not every day, but we're losing, family after family. So I'm very concerned, given the new knowledge that we have to abide by everything that the Yurok tribe says, and knowing what I know about what's going on in the community, I am very concerned that this is going to be one of many closures throughout the year. And like Sherry mentioned, there is no way that our program is going to be able to, we might be able to write it out for a little while, but not for long. So that's just kind of what I wanted to say.
Rebecca?
I'm sorry, I have somebody else in the room.
Oh, you weren't saying anything? Okay.
Yeah, she wasn't talking.
But her hand is up.
But I see the hand.
Signatures.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Okay. Finally, I recognize the hand.
And I just wanted to point out too, that this particular program at Eureka Learning Center, mind you, that's the campus where we have been a satellite facility for CR. So, our students there take CR courses that are taught by CR instructors. That program has dual enrollment. So our teachers are teaching college level courses there. Virtually every student who graduates from that program is A through G eligible. We've spent a significant amount of money putting in a science lab at that facility, which is going to have to be moved, which we knew that was coming anyway. But this is just an outstanding program that we just want to make sure that we, isn't harmed, or is, we have as little harm as possible because of this.
Melissa, there's probably a lot of different little aspects and nuances that Sherry just mentioned that you may not understand. A through G classes and all of that. Certainly, you'll come to understand those over time. The point that she and Julie as well are making is that this is with not taking anything away from the other learning centers, but this is a real bright spot for Northern United Humboldt. And during the original WASP review, we all, the reviewers and Rosemary and myself, toured it and met with students and met with instructors, and so we kind of know, of course. And then Rosemary and I know about the old Worthington Elementary site. And so, yeah, this is a big deal, and it's just really unfortunate. As soon as Sherry gave me the phone call and a heads up about what was happening, and just mentioning the tribe, I knew immediately that we were in trouble. Because I've had a dealing in my neighborhood. And so, yeah, I learned long ago that, the tribe is an entity unto its own. And even though there's been such a wonderful relationship for the past 9-10 years, but when it comes down to it, they're looking out for their interests, and you can't do anything about it. It's frustrating. I get that.
Yeah,
So,
and I just have to say, they have been amazing to work with, and I think that they're looking out for the interests of the community, and that they're very community oriented, and the fact that their community has been hit so hard with COVID, I absolutely understand and I sympathize with. So I don't take any ill will to this. I don't. I think that, they're looking out for what's best for all of us, and I totally understand that. And I don't feel like there's anything, wrong with what they've done. And I don't think they have any ill intention. In fact, all of our communication with them since then is very positive. And they are just as upset and sorry about this as we are. Their educational facilities have to be closed as well. And they have, we have students and have the whole time enrolled with us that are part of that tribe. And so they don't like it either. They wish COVID would go away too. So nothing against them at all. This is more just like, we just have to find a way to be in a situation where we have facilities that we're in control of.
right, right.
And that's been our challenge.
And we have to aspire to that and believe that our day will come. That time will come. We deserve it. We're in some respects different than, but we are definitely not less than. So, what else do you have to share?
Well, I only just had one last thing, and we can talk about it in the board report. It's just, we had talked about doing our October board meeting in person in Siskiyou. Remember going on the 14th and 15th, having our board meeting 2 days in a row there in person. And I'm just wondering if you guys are still thinking about that, because we'll have to agendize it in that way if that's what you want to do. But I did want to let you know, let me find it. I did want to let you know that, let's see, I'm scrolling through my text. Yesterday, Siskiyou had 429 cases in the one day, and the day before 365. So if you think our case count is bad, theirs is way worse, and they have way less people. I mean, we've never had a day of 400 cases, never.
No.
Not even the 3 days when they don't report on Saturday, Sunday, and till Monday. We've never even had.
But we have 115 now.
Today.
Today.
Right. So they have 4 times as much
As
in a
much as
day.
we do,
Right.
yeah.
So anyway, I don't know if it's the best time to do an in-person meeting.
Yeah, no, and what say you, Bianca and Melissa?
Apparently nothing.
I have been thinking about it, and I would love for it to happen. Meanwhile, I am watching the cases go up. So I am comfortable with being together and having the meeting, but I don't want to make anybody else uncomfortable. And, my initial reaction was like, oh, well, then maybe Siskiyou will go to Humboldt since the cases are so bad here, but I don't want to necessarily bring anything with me, not that I would, because I'm very cautious and careful and anyhow. The bottom line is that I want it to be a group decision, but I am comfortable with meeting in person.
Melissa? Your thoughts?
I'm also comfortable with meeting in person, but thinking about it, thinking about that whoever has to travel has to stay in hotel rooms, eat out in public and things. I feel like everybody has their own choice to do that, but then some people may not be able to make it because they might be concerned. I just feel like in general, it's probably better just during these times to just wait.
Is that a hand, Kurt?
And who knows if 299 will even be open or what, with the fires. And, I don't know about how the smoke has been for you there in Scott Valley, Melissa, but there was like, so much ash on the ground all over the place in Wairika yesterday. The air quality is just super bad here right now, super bad. And there's no rain in any forecast anytime soon, so.
I actually thought for a while that maybe I'm just sick because of the smoke, and I still actually don't know. Pretty
It
bad.
could very well be true, Melissa. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're not even into the cold and flu season yet, and you look at the number of COVID cases, it just makes me nuts. It's just, and every time I see somebody without a mask on in a store, or an employee with them, was yesterday, two clerks, and their mask was down to their chin. It's like, I have to really restrain myself from not saying something to them, knowing that it's going to be a big confrontation. And I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm older and I'm getting more angry about things that you younger people do. So, no, yeah, it just, as much as I like us to be together, there's so many benefits of us meeting together, developing that collegiality, everything that comes along with it, because we're a team, we're a family, and we're really just a disjointed family right now. It's probably in the best interest to just kind of wait and see, look ahead to maybe the spring.
Yeah, shoot for the spring.
And, depends on when we try and do it in October. I'm a little over a month out of being out of commission for a while. From my other knee surgery. All right.
Okay, so just our regularly scheduled meeting next month.
Yep. Or at least that's what I say.
I think it was consensus.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
That's it for me.
Woo-hoo. I don't think so.
Oh, no, there's more evidently.
But wait, there's more.
Tell me what more there is, Rosemary.
Well, I can either ask it when it's my turn or being that it's your turn, either way.
Just ask.
Help me please understand the meal program. I got a photo sent to me. I've had texts. I read this, that Rebecca had sent out in an email. Thank you very much for always including us. And and it says down here that breakfast will be served. And then heads are being scratched. Is this a breakfast? Is this a snack?
Is it what you're seeing behind you?
Well, this was taken from the kitchen over there. Oh, Teddy Grahams. Yeah, well, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, it's
Kind of,
breakfast.
sort of. And then I went to the website, like it said, go to the website for more information, which is just the same letter. I'm wondering what has been communicated to not only the staff, but the parents. Can you help me?
Well, I can't see what that is around my glasses.
This is the
But
letter
it's the letter
that,
that,
yes.
sent out?
yes.
Yeah, so
And it
this,
says down there, breakfast is served. That's the meal.
right,
And then, like I said, I got this picture of the counter across the way.
I can't see what that is, pass it down.
It's the
Applesauce.
the
Okay, I can see
counter
what that is.
across
Yeah.
the way, which is fruit and applesauce and
Right.
whatnot.
Right,
And I guess the bottom line is, how is this communicated besides this one flyer to the parents and the staff?
well, that flyer was sent out, you know, that was sent out, and then, trying to think what else, I think in my welcome letter, I think there was a thing about meals, the meal that we're serving being free also.
Okay,
Is
okay.
that what you're asking, how it was communicated that the meal would be
How is
free?
it communicate? Well, no, not how it, whether it was free, but last year, and the year before, well, yeah, we had lunch.
Mhm.
And now we're having breakfast.
Actually, last year was breakfast too.
Was it like this too?
It was, last year was breakfast, but what was put in the like grab and go
The grab
bags
and
was
goes?
kind of different because people were picking up a week's worth of food at a time.
Okay,
So, but it was also breakfast. It was the year before that we did lunch.
okay, okay. And just kind of getting all of this. You're laughing. You want to see my picture again? My glasses. And I'm thinking, well, I will research and whatnot, but do you feel that enough communication that has gone home as well as to the staff?
Possibly not. Rebecca?
Rebecca?
I was just gonna say that we had our back to school night last week and I covered it there too, Rosemary. And so I haven't had any parents or anybody question or anything like that.
Okay, good. And that was on my calendar and I did miss
Yes,
that.
definitely different, looks different than it did last year, because last year it was a week's worth at a time. Parents would come
Okay.
and get a week's worth. And then the year before, we contracted with Cutton School
Right.
District
Right.
for lunch.
Yeah.
Right, because I remember Julie was concerned that her
It
students
was too small of a portion.
were,
Right,
yes,
right.
yes. Okay,
Yeah, this thing is just so interrupted and crazy.
and
You know, we
crazy.
got started, and it seemed to be okay, and then shutdown occurred, and then now we're trying to get back in under even a different set of challenges.
Well, next year it'll be 2 meals that we're doing. It'll be
And-
breakfast and lunch.
Julie.
We are here with the high school kids. Are they getting more than the elementary kids? Or are they getting the same?
Well, that's exactly what they're getting right there. See those little signs?
Yeah,
Like they
yeah.
can take 2 of one thing, 1 of whatever.
And
They
is that
offer-
what the elementary kids are getting as well?
I think so.
Okay,
But it could be slightly different. They have different, based on the grade levels, they have different compliance.
Right.
Like the amount of calories in
Yeah.
a week and the like amount of saturated fat, the amount of sodium.
All that.
So to be
perfect.
able to do the same meal for K through 12, it
Yeah.
can be done, but you have to do it in the certain range where they all overlap, like the Venn
Perfect.
diagram of it.
Okay, Thank you.
So Rosemary, we communicate that to our parents almost every week in the email that we send out on Friday. And then we have our back to school night virtually next week, and that will be discussed there too. So we definitely, our families do know that the food is
Good.
available. And believe me, our kids do take it. So
Good, good. Because oftentimes, as we all know, a school meal is the only meal some children truly do get.
that's true.
All right.
Melissa,
I guess since we're talking about the school lunch thing or the breakfast, I also received the flyer for both my children and I was really excited. I plan to post it on like a board in town and then maybe online, scan it. But I did kind of have a little bit of a concern with it, and maybe it's unnecessary because I'm grateful that we're getting food to children in general. But I was wondering, I know you guys went by like guidelines of how many calories and whatnot, how many items each student is to take. I read all that, but I was feeling a little concerned with maybe the balance of it. Like, for instance, the protein that is offered would just be dairy milk, it looks like to me. And another thing is like, I'm not sure, but it looked like there would be some grain options. And like, I know that a lot of kids that I know of now that go to alternative schools go because of their alternative needs, and not, there's a lot of people who can't have like gluten and dairy or excess sugars, things like, and so I was just wondering if maybe we might be leaving them out in our offerings, or maybe we could have some options added on, just a few, something maybe.
Yeah, and so it's interesting because the guidelines for breakfast are, there is no protein. It's 2 grains, a fruit or vegetable, and the milk. That's the guidelines for breakfast. So if, you're right, milk does have protein, but that's not part of the breakfast, the compliant breakfast. Not that it couldn't be included, but that's, in terms of meeting the National School Breakfast Program compliance, breakfast does not include a protein. You can substitute one of the grains for a protein, but it's 2 grains, a fruit, vegetable, and a milk. But yeah, I think I'm almost positive that that we have soy milk.
We do.
Yeah,
We have-
soy milk is an option for people who don't drink cow milk. And then
This is almond milk.
okay, maybe it's almond milk, yeah.
Kurt,
And it has to meet, and even that, the soy milk or almond milk has to meet very specific nutritional guidelines.
Kurt,
Yeah, and I just wanted to add that we're limited by no kitchens really, and what we can purchase that's prepackaged. We can't buy anything bulk and package it ourselves because we just don't have the proper facilities to do that. So everything we purchase basically has to be prepackaged, and the choices for that are very limited. And still needing to meet the federal guidelines, that's kind of limiting what we can really do in a lot of ways.
Okay, well, thank you for letting me know about the alternative dairy option. I don't think I read that on, so maybe that would be one of the little things that was left off, but that's great to hear.
thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I hope that's it.
Okay, well, thanks, Sherry.
Yeah.
And thanks, everybody, for weighing in on these things. 6.4 Northern United Humboldt Charter School Report. I'd just like to make a compliment right from the start that this was really informative, and a pleasure to go through and see who's doing what, you know, and to remind us that it's all about individuals and those students that they're in charge of, you know, and what they do. And so it was really refreshing to see it in this format. So anyway, is Julie, Rebecca, which one are you going to talk about it?
Well, thank you. It was my report this month.
Okay.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I don't have anything to add to it. It's been an interesting month, I think. Nice to be back on campus with longer days, but with its own challenges as well.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Both Carol and I just talk all the time about, man, are we glad we're not in the system?
You're glad you're
now?
retired.
Because just, I mean, under normal circumstances, and you know this, Rosemary, you know, from
Beginning of the year,
the-
oh, yeah.
all the challenges that just
Oh.
naturally come, like schedule changes and, you know,
Yeah,
parents and students and new ones and trying to get them on the schedule, and let alone throw in what you're all having to deal with now is
yeah.
just unbelievable. And, you know, I commend all of you. And you just all rising to the occasion. So, which is basically what I said at the summit. So anyway, any comments about the Humboldt report?
No, just enjoy reading them. On our side, they're always great. Kirk does an outstanding job on his side over there all the time for us.
Okay, so 6.5, the Northern United Siskiyou Charter School report. Kirk?
I was just way too swamped to get a report together in advance to include in the packet this time, so I'll just give an oral report. You know, a part of my job is testing coordinator, and I just wanted to let y'all know that the CASP scores from last spring have been mailed to all the parents in both schools. And those scores are also uploaded to School Pathways. So any of our teachers can log on to School Pathways and see any of the reports or the scores. And very soon, hopefully, we'll be getting our students and parents into their portal where they will be able to also access the students' scores that way. We're using a new parent communication, like parent school-wide sort of communication app called Parent Square this year. And most all of the teachers and staff members you know, have activated their accounts. So far in both schools, only about a quarter of the parents have activated their accounts. I'll send another reminder, you know, another invitation rather to them to activate their accounts. It's going to be, I believe, a better system than we were using before, if for no other reason that we had two different systems, completely different systems for each school. This year, it's going to be one sort of, you know, system, one platform that people who work in both schools, and we do have a number of people who work in both schools, will be able to more seamlessly sort of keep track of what's going on and message people that they need to, etc. So I just wanted to update you on that. And here in Siskiyou, our teachers have all been furiously meeting with students and getting them going on their independent study work. And in Mount Shasta, the in-person classes started this past Tuesday. And everything I've heard so far is things are going well there. And our classes in Wairika that are really more high school centered than in Mount Shasta, they seem to be they're more elementary centered. In Wairika, those classes start on Monday. The other thing that we have organized so far are the Siskiyou County Office of Education outdoor education field trips. We have a number of those scheduled so far. We've got 5 dates picked out for Wairika high school students and 3 dates picked out for Wairika middle school students. The leader of that program at SCOE, Christian Birch, is still communicating with the teachers in Mount Shasta to schedule those days. But among the, among the trips scheduled so far are to Cantera Loop, to Pluto Cave, and a couple of trips up to the Nordic Center when the snow starts flying. And those are sort of outdoor science-based field trips. So other than that, that's really all I have to report this month.
Thank you, Kurt. Any questions, comments for Kurt? Melissa?
Are the field trips for both North and South County, all of them, or are they separated between the two?
Well, that's a good question. We've got like the high school ones have been organized by our high school teacher in Wairika, but if Mount Shasta high school students want to participate in that, they can. Same with the middle school field trips. They've been organized by somebody in Wairika, but if South County middle school students want to participate in that as well, then the South County field trips are going to be organized by the elementary teachers. And similarly, if students in Wairika want to participate, they can. So we'll be letting everybody know, but they're sort of organized by different people in different parts of the county.
I just wanted to say, I think that the parent square will help a lot with getting that information out to both sides. So I appreciate the integration from North and South in that way.
And I noticed right off that when I publicized the book club, that one of our staff in Wairika is going to spearhead. Kate O'Brien is doing a 7th grade and up book club, weekly book club on Zoom. And I noticed, Melissa, that you responded right away. So this is going to be really good for just notifying parents about different school events. And it's a much more user-friendly platform than Remind was. I never really used Dial My Calls, so I can't speak to that. But I'm looking forward to, the ways we'll be able to just do outreach with stakeholders using that platform.
So,
Okay, good. Julie?
can I ask a question? Did you all receive the invite for our new group, the Branches, and the newsletter that was sent out?
I don't think the invite's been sent out yet, has it?
Not
Yeah.
that I'm aware
The new,
I got an email. Something was shared to me via email today. Or yesterday, maybe.
of. Well, I
Did
haven't
it come
looked at,
today?
yeah, I haven't looked at anything today.
I haven't either.
the newsletter was let out yesterday, so I guess, I don't know, we need to follow up on that, Rebecca.
That one went out to the parent group.
Yeah.
The
Should
parents.
That would be good to publicize on Parent Square.
She
Yeah.
did, she sent it out on
It
the
was.
parent, in the
was.
parents' email for Parent Square, yeah.
We'll share it with the board too. Newsletter, we'll share with the board. So,
Yes.
Well, thank you.
Receive it as a parent either. Or
The newsletter only went to Humboldt.
Humboldt.
The invite for the meeting, I think, is going to both, but I don't know that that went out yet.
It hasn't got, yeah, it needs a little bit more editing and we'll get it out for you.
Yeah, that hasn't gone out yet.
So that group starts this month, the fourth Wednesday of the month, and that's the parent group that we're starting over here with workshops for parents to attend, how to be an independent study parent and everything that goes along with that. And so that's going to be starting this month. So we will send you the newsletter that was released that's called Family Ties.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anything else? No? Okay, 6.6, board report. Bianca? Anything to say?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. So being a parent, I am using Parent Square, and it is much more user-friendly. And something that is awesome about it that Kirk let me on to is that I can combine my child here at Siskiyou with my other child who's at a different charter school, and they also use Parent Square. So it's a great platform, and I'm excited that we've moved towards it. What else? Lucia, my daughter, is in first grade, so I got to see first day happen at the Pine Grove, which is in Mount Shasta facility. It was super sweet, super exciting. Happy to see Kirk there, waving and smiling at all the parents. And lastly, I attended the Fall Summit, which was awesome to get to see so many faces of names that I read. So that was exciting. And I think that that's all that I have.
Thank you.
Yep.
Melissa? Anything to say or share?
Yeah. So you guys know that I'm a mother of 2 students of Northern United Siskiyou, and we're fully homeschooled family. So I had my teacher meetings this week, and it was great. I was really impressed with like how all the teachers were working together to implement the new mandates and follow all the new rules. But above that, they were definitely prioritizing like being there emotionally and mentally for the students and family, which I thought that was pretty impressive. They all had really good attitudes, and that was really nice. So what you guys might not know is that we are a family that uses a pretty unique curriculum. It's not one of the common that others in our grades or whatever use. And it's more of like a parent and student led learning because I do all the educating and then I just report to the teachers. So they support me and make sure I'm meeting all the goals and milestones and everything. And when I come into trouble, they come up with solutions for me. It's really nice. We also aren't able to attend classes with other students. So that's sometimes a little bit tough for us, but it's not really anybody's fault. But so in one of my meetings this week, it kind of brought up some of these challenges that I've been thinking about with the school, and with us having a different curriculum than the majority of the students, it was a little bit tough for our students, or my children's teachers, to figure out how that looks when they primarily use the same curriculum. So I know that there are other students in our Siskiyou that also use other curriculum for various reasons. Some of them be religious. Ours is just because ours works better with our lifestyle, and the school actually provides our curriculum because it complies to like state standards above and beyond. So what we found though is that we also our my kids are separate. We have different teachers for each of them, and that kind of makes it a little bit complicated because I have a lot more reporting to do, paperwork and all of that. And I think I mentioned already, it's kind of burdensome on the teachers. I found when talking to Colleen, one thing she said was, I love working with you guys and your curriculum is great, but I would not want more students to be working out in a different curriculum than the majority, since I have so many that I have of all the same grade that I need to attend to. And so as we were talking, we were thinking, how could we solve this, you know? And she was saying, well, honestly, I just think that we need some teachers that are designated to homeschool families that do they lead their own educating, since families like yours aren't like in class, they're not on Zoom, they're not coming in. It's kind of hard to have those on top, and it would be nice if I could give them more attention. I know she said that she spoke with a couple other teachers that also have students that are not in classroom and potentially use their own curriculum, etc. So after I spoke with her, I thought, well, maybe I'll speak with another teacher that supported us on our transition from in class to at home education, and that teacher is Dawn Freiling. And when I spoke with her, I kind of brought up the same issues that Colleen and I had communicated about. And she was saying that she believes that she might be one of the few, if not the only, teachers in our county that is strictly focused on supporting at-home education in this manner. And she says that we need to consider that she's definitely going to retire in the future, potentially near. And she also mentioned that she's always loaded with students, and a lot of times, you know, not that she turns anyone away, but she can't take them on herself, even though she knows that she'd be able to give them that support. For instance, my family would be with Dawn if we could, because she has experience working with families like ours. So she suggested that this would be a good time to start looking towards hiring other teachers to do this type of educating that's a little bit different than what we generally have. And that was, like I said, what Colleen also suggests, or I don't know if I said that, but Colleen suggested that maybe we'd hire this type of teacher. And another thing that Dawn was mentioning is that we could train, you know, somebody we hired, if they don't have this kind of experience in this type of educating system, or our current teachers, if the ones that were interested or the ones that do have students like this. The reason I bring this up especially is because over the last few weeks, some families that I personally know have come to me for some advice on homeschooling, and they are actually disconnecting from the public school due to mandates, mask mandates, things like that, troubles that they're having with their children, due, you know, tics, like grabbing at their mask. They just can't, they're having trouble with communication, so they can't have their kids in class, and they're pulling them out, and they're like, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. You know, I'm going to find a curriculum that I like, and I'm going to educate them. I don't know how to do it, but I'm going to find help. And like I said, there's been at least 3 that I could think of right now. And I was hesitant to say, you should come to charter school. They'll support you, because I realize that with the meetings with the teachers, that we might not have that type of support for those type of students. So I feel like potentially right now is good timing, since we're kind of implementing new mandates and coming up with a whole new way of doing, of all schools doing independent study. Maybe instead of our school resembling a public school, you know, a common public school independent study program, we could maybe stand out by supporting more of this type of disconnect from, you're all the same grade, you all have the same curriculum, and a teacher who teaches it to you. You know, you're in a different class than your brother or sister, with a different teacher, etc. maybe this would be a good time, and maybe it would be a draw to our school, since we don't have a lot of that in our county as it appears. And it would also help spread the load for the teachers out a little. So I know that was long. Sorry, I didn't prepare you guys for that, but it's just been on my mind for a while now. And this last week, it really kind of was brought back up like, yeah, this is a good thing to talk about now. So.
Well, Melissa, great minds must think alike, because we've had positions posted for teachers in Siskiyou since, I don't know, I'm gonna say May. We've done lots of interviewing over the summer. We still don't have all our positions filled, and we have a waiting list of students there that we have, we can't place with anybody because our teachers are full until we can't hire anybody. So we're kind of at a standstill with that. But the other thing I'm going to say, Melissa, I don't think your family is as unique as maybe you think in terms of using alternative curriculum. On the Siskiyou side, other than Pine Grove, where kids are coming like 4 days a week and kind of in class all day long, those are the only ones. So however many kids that is, those are the only ones in the whole school that are all doing the same thing.
Yeah, so 2 points. Yeah, I've been in conversations with Dawn for years, actually. I mean, knowing that she's going to be retiring and wanting to train somebody to replace her. And we have a couple of ideas brewing. Somebody here in Mount Shasta who is finishing up her bachelor's degree and then wants to get into an intern, credential program. And we have thought for a while would be a perfect person to groom to take Dawn's place. So that definitely has been on our mind, or my mind anyway, of something that we need to pay attention to. And like Sherry said, we have a couple of positions posted. Fingers crossed that we'll find somebody, but there's a lot of open positions in this county, so it's not going to be easy. But we definitely, recognize that. But then in Wairika, in years past, we haven't. The teachers were sort of all K-12 teachers. Maybe some specialized in a few grades, or ended up with more students in some grades than others. But we're all just sort of across the board, and it gets really difficult for a teacher to be a master of curriculum options and choices K through 12. And so it was really Lindsay's idea to just break the Wairika Center down into grade bands. And we realized that might be splitting some families apart, but really the idea was to get teachers focused on 2 or 3 grade levels, that they could just focus all their energy on just becoming really good at that, instead of having to try to be sort of good at 12 or 13 different grade levels, So that's kind of why maybe your kids ended up with different teachers. And yeah, we've used lots of different curriculum in the past, like Oak Meadow or other things, but part of it, I feel like too, though, is with the new AB 130, the requirements for independent study has made it. There's just so much to it that it has really made teachers kind of want to just sort of focus on, some standards adopted kind of curriculum and for the most part, but all of our teachers totally still have the option to use, whatever they want with parents. And also too, Assembly Bill AB 130 really put the onus on us to drive instruction as opposed to, I'm sure we'll still have lots of parents or some parents, just sort of driving the instruction, but really, the pendulum is trying to swing towards us being the drivers of instruction. But, but within that, I think we still have a lot of latitude for what curriculum ultimately that we could use. But then the teachers need to become familiar with it so that they can be the ones sort of saying, okay, you know, here's what you should really focus on this next month or whatever. Anyway, I don't know. Those are some thoughts I'd have, and I'd love to talk to you some more too sometime, Melissa, about this.
So Melissa, just briefly, I think I kind of understand what you're talking about, just in some ways, because I'm a homeschooling mom from the 90s. So that was back when we had to hide our kids from homeschooling. So I didn't homeschool them all through school, but I did do 3 years of homeschooling. And so I kind of understand what you're talking about. But I also want to parrot a little bit about what Sherry said, is that, you know, I think the beauty of our program is that we do have a lot of freedom and a lot of movement that we're able to do in our program, while yet at the same time meeting the standards and doing all that. I would just encourage you in this area to maybe begin a co-op of other parents that are in a similar situation, because we did that back in the 90s. We would co-op with one another. And we found that, you know, it was not only extraordinarily helpful to have parents who were like-minded talking about things, but it was also a really good, you know, it would be a really nice way for your IS teachers to get involved with, you know, other parents who are working on the same thing that you're working on. So I don't know if that addresses anything that you're saying, but the model you're talking about is what we used to call homeschool, just pure and simple homeschool. And so we still, even though it's an independent study program that we run, there still are a lot of elements of it that are very much like the good old-fashioned homeschooling programs. And I think co-ops are really important for parents like yourself. I really do. So that's just my little 2 cents for the night.
Well, I appreciate all that feedback. I want to say I love the idea of collaborating with other parents in this way. Actually, it was one point that didn't really get put on my little notes here, but that's something that would be really nice. Another thing that this parent square might be able to help with is connecting these families that aren't, you know, maybe doing the same thing as everyone else. And also what Kirk was saying, I actually really like the having teachers that are more adept with certain grades, you know, three years of students. I think it will be great for the kids to have my kids personally, to have their own separate teachers. And with what you were saying, Sherry, about our specific scenario, the only reason I said that about us being one of the unique ones is upon speaking with Colleen, she was saying that she only has one, that it's just us. And then she said that she knows of one other teacher in that school that has a family like that, and that there's not that many. And another family that I know of that is in our school said that she spoke with her teacher and said, we'd like to maybe look at other curriculums. And the teacher, you know, maybe it was just that she was new, but she said, I don't know how to do that. We just have this curriculum that we use. And so it sounded like to me that here in North Siskiyou, that we don't have a lot of families like that, or that they don't know that they could have that option. And so my concern is that families that maybe are looking for that option are going to look elsewhere, you know? So if anything, I think maybe that whole idea of just offering the training, which I think it's all coming together, because like you were saying, Julie, about, you know, the family ties, the branches, having education for parents to be able to do these things. I think that would be really good, but maybe our teachers also need a little bit of help in that way too, to know how. So those are just my last sentiments. Thank you guys for all your feedback.
certainly, thanks for bringing it up and making it a future focus. Rosemary.
I just want to thank everyone across the board for starting school in such a professional way. There were a lot of hiccups that perhaps were behind the scenes hiccups that folks dropping their students off were unaware of. A lot of time, work goes into starting the school year. And we've had our share of challenges the last couple of years. My two boys were very thrilled to be back. One was disappointed in the way he had to return to school, but overall, very excited to be back and see everyone. There's something to be said about it takes a community, and the community or the village that we are part of is just exceptional. And I want to thank each and every one that has a part in it.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely, things run as pretty much a well-oiled machine. And even though.
Until they don't.
Yeah. From the fall summit, from having people gather together, bodies together in a room, to doing it over Zoom, it's all these same enthusiasm and preschool year energy was still present. As I alluded to earlier, I had the opportunity to address everyone on the second day because I forgot that I had a commitment that didn't allow, it was occurring at the same time that it was going to start. So I could have asked this of Sherry during her report, but since Linda, just before we started, you brought up talking about board members and vaccinations and card. So I'm gonna play the devil's advocate here. So one, would board members be required to indicate that they're vaccinated or not?
Well, it's any volunteers who are on your campus.
Okay, on the campus. Okay, so we could then just Zoom in strictly. Okay, and then that.
Or be tested. You don't have to be vaccinated. It just
Right.
means if you don't show proof of vaccination, you have to be tested when you come on the campus.
When you come on the campus, okay. Even if, of course, in our case, we're not elected by the public.
Right.
And so, would that apply if others, traditional school districts and school boards,
I think so.
would that?
I mean, I don't know why not. The
apply?
intent of it is
No,
to not have, to not have, somebody possibly infecting the school personnel or students.
Right, I mean, I could just see a nightmare scenario with, some. I'm definitely not one of but an anti-vaxxer, somebody that would refuse, all that, but then say, hey, I'm elected by the public to be here and serve. And so I'm just wondering how that, would sort of out. So I can email you, the picture of the color. I have to search, maybe it's in my wallet, on my phone. So, then we can move it. And, looking ahead, most likely, November, December. Hopefully it won't happen by January that, I'm gonna have to Zoom in. Because I can't, in order to get here.
Mhm.
And be able to sit for some period, I can't drive.
Yeah.
So Carol will have to do a lot for me anyway, let alone having to bring me to a board meeting that she thinks I.
Should have quit years ago. Hey, we know what she thinks. We know what she thinks.
Yeah,
So, anyway,
she's trying to brainwash you, Jerry. Don't listen to her. Don't drink the Kool-Aid, honey. Don't drink it.
That Carol does.
anyway, that's all. So looking ahead to, 7, next board meeting. 7.1 possible agenda items, you can see in the packet, a discussion, policies, Siskiyou, unaudited actuals.
Curriculum, instructional materials, public hearing
Oh,
for
yeah.
those schools.
That's right, that's right.
Off the top of my head.
Which that is a standard
Mhm.
thing that we do, anything you can think of, Rosemary or,
Maybe facilities stuff.
oh yeah, definitely this facility thing. Anything, you can think of to contribute, Bianca?
It was a little bit difficult to hear you, what you were saying regarding the next board meeting, items, Jerry.
It's the instructional materials, public hearings for those schools will be next month, as well as the unaudited actuals for Siskiyou.
Okay.
Also, the second reading of employment policies. Those
Right.
will all be items on next month's agenda. And possibly a facilities update.
Okay. Nope, nothing else.
Anything, Melissa? No? Okay. So the next board meeting date is October 14th. And if there's nothing further, I will adjourn this board meeting. It's 6:08 PM. Well, thank you, everybody.